Southern University. Man, am I ready? You see, I have my college education shirt on, so I'm ready to go. Just getting into that mood. You see, I done doctored up the place a little bit here, Joe.
I see it.
I see you, Doc.
You know, we always trying to get better.
Little studio floss there.
Yeah, just a little floss, Mike. You know your boy. You grew up with me in college, so part of this is your fault.
Yeah. I'm not even surprised. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I would be mad if you tried to claim you were surprised. But with that, let's jump right in here. And Mike, since you did bring me into this beautiful fraternity known as Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm taking a dig because our producer in the background has showed up, and he has this fascinating shirt on, great colors, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my Phi Beta Sigma brothers out there in the Greekdom world. Much love in regards that we call this the Sporting HBCU Diaspora, which we say is inclusive of all things, including obviously the Panhellenic Greek letter organizations. We teased that out a little bit last week, as it ran in course, as we talked about Kamala Harris running as the running mate for Biden, as she's the vice president, under the presidents who are seeking to become president and vice president, representing the Democratic Party. But with that said, Mike, give me some HBCU sports news of the day.
Yeah, so man, there's so much, and I'm wearing my fraternal colors. I see some eerie Phi Beta Sigma stuff in the background, and it's just blurring my vision. I'm sorry, Roy, but it's just I'm sorry, it's just hampering me. So to get things started out, one of my favorite NFL players, prime time, Dion Sanders realizes his dream as an HBCU graduate. Dion Sanders became a college football star, as you know, with Florida State in the late 80s. He also played, with such teams as the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, for those of you that still choose to follow the NFL. Well, in the latest news, he became a football player that received a degree from not only the one and only Talladega College in Alabama. So he was put on the fast track. He completed his program this past semester. It is a program designated for busy adults. So kudos to him. I think if you look at the channels, and kudos to CB, who asked, does he have a tract or any interest in maybe being a future head coach? We know that he coaches his younger kids, so who knows what lies to him. I do know that if you listen to his tweets, because I follow him on Twitter, if you follow his some of his specials on the show, he does like coaching. He does have an interest in coaching in college, but you don't know. But to CB's credit, he asked, is this the first step at coaching? So kudos to him. He addressed the crowd at Talladega College. So big news for Talladega, but also big news for Dion Sanders.
Yeah, kudos.
No doubt about it. I thought it was fascinating. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THC Agency. THC Agency is a company that provides sport and educational consulting and data analytics for the marketplace. With that, I want to go back, as you said, talking about prime time, and I wanted to give a little love to Talladega. And this comes courtesy of HBCU Game Day that gave this report. Steve Gaver, I thought, did a wonderful job as he summarized the end of this, which is the part he said, watching him celebrate his accomplishments by doing his iconic shuffle dance across the stage. There's more going on than maybe even Sanders realized. Now Talladega needs from Sanders what every HBCU needs from its alumni, the willingness to pay it forward. I thought that was a significant quote of the day. Look at this. I wanted to share a little more before I shift it to Charles and give a little love for those that are following us, obviously. Talladega College was birthed when 3 formerly enslaved men decided they wanted to educate the children after the Civil War. It was an endowment of less than $3 million. At Florida State University, college football is a religion. At Talladega College, there's no football team, but there's a marching band. Here is a man that helped turn one school into a $100 million plus brand, launching a pro career that propelled him to individual prosperity. But when it came time to fulfill a journey that was as much spiritual as academic, he came to a small, private, historically black college that is always a few missed donations and low enrollment semesters through closure. I thought that was a fascinating framework that he put up there, and thought it would be remiss if I did not share it. Before I go to Charles, I did want to check out some of those that have joined us today. Chuck Hunt out of Monroe, Louisiana. Trudy Jackson checking in from New Orleans. G. Boom Hollis, another member of Phi Beta Sigma, one of our tailgate buddies, one of the biggest boosters out there, alumni supporters at Prairie View A&M University that I know of, and I know quite a few of them. But that's why we tease Roy Evans like that, because we really have a great relationship with Holly and tease him all the time as he makes sure he represents for Phi Beta Sigma, and for that matter, Kappa Kappa Psi. I want to make sure I throw in some love for those HBCU band, as he's a former drum major, so he's really done it all in so many ways, representing for HBCU, what I call the marching sport, or what many people call the HBCU marching sport, as I borrowed from Charles' good friend over there. Thomas White Jr., what's up? Southern University representing. Jason Cable representing the SWAC office, as well as his alma mater, Alcorn State. Lonnie Shaw, North Carolina A&T. Those Aggies are always in the house. AD, as they do it with their great show that you can catch weekly. When you're talking about Brian and AD, in terms of their HBCU show that they do weekly, talking about sports, the sports rap. Shannon Jarvis, Sarah Scott, Brian Gauthier, that's brother Brian Gauthier, previous chapter president of Alpha Eta Gamma Lambda chapter down there getting it done. I tried to sneak in Eta Gamma undergrad chapter there.
Yeah, I saw it. We're gonna let you roll with it, Doc.
he representing FAMU, so he gonna take a pause of that and say, hold on now, get that right now. Diane Weber, Texas Southern University, good day, good people. Roderick Byron Holmes, Dr. Holmes is in the house, the math professor. Chuck Hunt says Dion Sanders is offensive coordinator at his son's high school. Yes, sir, that's right.
Yes, yes he is.
Kevin Crawford, with Dion coach at an HBCU, the answer is probably no. I doubt that. He's probably looking for whatever chance he gets, and he thinks if he can get a chance, he'd always be able to make the most of it and climb out of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he looks at that. If you look at the SIAC and CIAA, they've been pretty much one of the places that professionals go when they can't get jobs back at their alma mater, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
You're talking about basketball, football, and some of the other sports as well. So HBCUs is the cradle for many sporting frameworks, good and bad and indifferent. Primetime follows Cynthia Cooper, who completed her college degree at another HBCU, which is Prairie View A&M University. She did both an undergraduate and a graduate.
Wow.
There at Prairie View. Great point. Holly getting it done. Joe Collin, Lisa Ward. Dr. Holmes says, math is here. TS will have a data science coming soon. Yes, indeed. Starting off fall 2021, we have gotten that approval, data science. Been working hard. A lot of credit goes out to Dr. Holmes making it work. And he's looking at some 4+1s with the Texas Higher Education, with the University of Health Science Center over there. Kitty Chaney, Crawford, Kevin Crawford, representing FAMU and Alpha Phi Alpha 06 to good brothers. Yes, indeed. I told you. The Alpha's in the house.
Yes, indeed.
Data science, concentration, minor and certificate, fall 21 and more. Yes, sir. Good job, Dr. Holmes. With that, Charles, as I've been showed out and represented a little bit for Texas Southern University, make sure those paychecks keep coming in. Let me share the mic with Charles Bishop. Give us some love. What's the HBCU news of the day, brother?
No doubt, and we're going to get to talking about this spring schedule that came out from the Southwestern Athletic Conference. A lot is going to be a sprint to the finish here. Caveat, if we play ball in the spring, It should be interesting, a lot of interesting matchups. So I always like to put that caveat out there. We got to get there first, folks. So mask up. In addition, we'll talk about the schedules, but I wanted to mention Bluefield State College. They're going to bring football back in 2021, and Florida Memorial,
West Virginia.
Yeah, in West Virginia, Florida Memorial. They actually started practice. So Florida Memorial, they're going to try to get some games in this fall.
And Bluefield's bringing what, 10 sports back?
12.
12.
Yeah, 12. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy. Swimming and some sports that you would not.
Track and field for men's and women's, indoor, outdoor.
I think they went all in.
They went all in, no doubt about it. It'll be fascinating to keep an eye on that. Bluefield State, you talk about Wiley College, if you would, and Big Ben Cavil, as you see the little logo back that we do an annual award to the HBCU player that is connected with the state of Texas. We call it the best player from an HBCU football program with that connection to the state of Texas. He had a co-championship when he was at Wiley College, a National Black College Championship during his time there, 1927, 28 time frame, if you would. And he shared that championship with Bluefield State. Thinking about that. Yeah, so full circle. I thought that was interesting. I had to find a way to sneak that in and talk about Big Ben Cavil. But with that, let me shift it back over to Mike for a little more news of the day. Anything else you got with us?
Man, there is so much news. It is unbelievable. But in addition to that, I want to announce that I guess a fairly new announcement. So George Knox named Shaw University's Director of Athletics. Kind of a new thing. It just came out today. So those of you who are not familiar or not familiar with George Shaw, I think this announcement just came out. So they had a national search. Shaw University President Paulette Dillard has announced the appointment of George Knox as its new athletics director. Knox will assume the role on September 1st, 2020, succeeding Dr. Alfonso L. Carter, who announced his retirement. So Knox brings over a decade of professional experience to his role, including a one-year stint as interim director of athletics at Winston-Salem University. It brings kind of that Winston-Salem culture. So since 2015, and this comes to us from Onadon Sports, I have to give them credit, and also social media alerts that I get, and a couple of sites. So 2015, he served as the associate director of athletics at Winston-Salem State, besides ensuring that the Rams athletic department and its students athletes are in full compliance. So he's a compliance background. So interesting move, interesting timing, but congratulations to George Knox on his appointment. He has a couple of other appointments. He has some experience in the CIAA as well. So that announced here most recently.
Great information, Mike. Appreciate it. Before I go back to Charles and we wrap it up and get into preparing for our first interview shortly, just wanted to shake it up a little bit, go back. Chuck Hunt brings it out there. He digs in the crate a little bit too. He shows me, as I put in there 1920s, he comes back with a 1950s, making sure he's representing Grambling there. Bluefield State played Grambling in football back in the 1950s. Yeah, Bluefield had a little team there. Lonnie Shaw points out appropriately, Bluefield State, while it is designated federally as an HBCU, because that's how it was founded, it is predominantly white now, which gives you some indication of why they probably would think about bringing back swimming. Not that African Americans or blacks Americans can't swim, but you don't see a lot of them.
I was going to say, man, I can do the 100-meter freestroke. I'm serious. What you saying?
We talk about scholastically, Mike. First of all, your eligibility is
what
up.
What are you saying? I can do the breaststroke.
I'm saying your eligibility is up. You don't have those kind of skills. So let's put it in there.
Hey, my son was on the diving team. He had to get it from somewhere.
Yeah, claim that. I like it.
I'm gonna claim it.
On a bit more serious note, we only have one HBCU program at the Division I level that has a swimming team, which is Howard. We
Yep.
lost the last two over the last decade when we lost North Carolina A&T and FAMU with their swim team in that capacity. So unfortunate for that, but it's good to see that just in terms of sports in general, they're bringing it back. So wanted to go quickly to Charles as we start to bring in our guests. We'll put that around shortly when it comes off the table. But what else do you have in regards to what's going on there? Well, let me ask one question before you do that, Charles. I'm sorry to break you in there. I just caught this and I want to answer this. Gene Boone Holly said, will we be looking at a May Celebration Bowl? And I've kind of checked that out because I thought that was a really good question to ask and got on that when I first heard the spring schedule. The commissioner at one time was looking at the fact, and that's Dr. Charles McCullough, commissioner of the SWAC, that they did put in the schedule room for there to be a chance about the Celebration Bowl to be played if they ESPN partners wanted to do it. I talked a little more further deeply with that with Executive Director John Grant in terms of the Celebration Bowl. He's under the current framework that it would be highly likely that they would not play a Celebration Bowl. They really want to keep the momentum that they have going in regards to putting that game on ABC, one of the game, if not first game that shows up during bowl season. And so unless there's a reconfiguration of all the bowls and all the people moving to the spring, at this point that is highly unlikely for that to happen. So I did want to sneak that in there and give that answer. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, yeah, before we kind of get into our guest and then talk about these spring schedules, wanted to mention ex-North Carolina Central quarterback, Chauncey Caldwell. He commits to Virginia State, so he will be going to Virginia State. Chauncey Caldwell, if you remember him, he started out his career at North Carolina Central under Jerry Mack, so now he will be moving on from North Carolina Central. So kudos to young man Chauncey Caldwell continuing his collegiate career.
Great call on that. Let's keep it rolling. Roy, do we have our caller in? Is he ready? Let's go ahead and go to our guest as we get that going. Since we haven't, let's bring him in and jump right into it. Like I said, the second part of the show, we'll get in a little bit of this schedule and drop you maybe some couple of other nuggets in terms of HBCU Sports News of the Week. But let's get into this first interview. We have sports photography with Jake Jay Mack McDonald. Welcome to the Inside HBCU Sports Lab as our guest. The purpose of this segment is to discuss the career in sports photography and photography in general with Jay Mack, as I like to call him. He's an alumni of Morgan State University and University of Virginia as well. With that, Jay, I think you have your mic muted, but you can come on. We're ready to get into it.
All right, here we go.
There you
All
go.
right.
There you go, man.
Right.
I see you ready.
All
You
right.
got the background set up for you. You fired up, yo.
I didn't bring my light. My son took my light to look for some stuff, and so my light is upstairs, but we're going to make it do what it do.
Oh, no problem. We certainly will. We certainly gonna make it do what it do. I thought you were going for this photography look. You know how y'all artistic are. You know, so I'm gonna give you set the mood for y'all just a little bit.
Well, you know what?
I don't know if I call you photographer. You look like a DJ. You about to start some stuff.
Hey, well, you got to check out the headphones. You see the headphones?
I see the headphones.
You see that, right?
Yeah. MEAC represent Morgan State Bears. I see you. Yeah, but before we tell everybody where you are, tell us a little bit about that. Before we get back to exactly where you're from, talk about how you got to Morgan State, and then in that story, tell us where you came from.
Woo. Well, I was a mechanic's apprentice, and my mom told me that I needed to take some business classes in order to, if one day I wanted to own my own shop, it would be good to have some business classes. So she said, why don't you go on up to Morgan and register for some business classes? So I went to my instructor, and he said, the guy I was apprenticing with, he said, I need a few hours to go up. I'm done everything I need to do today. And he said, no. And I told him, I said, well, I need to do this. I said, it's for me, blah, blah, blah. I'm already done. I'm just sitting around. He said, well, if you leave your tools. So I walked back, grabbed my toolbox, dropped on his desk, got on the bus, and went on up to the Morgan. Registered
Wow.
the rest of history.
Wow.
I didn't have a dollar. Look, wait a minute. I didn't have a dollar in my pocket. Now, and Morgan brought me in. They helped me navigate the process, and eventually got a student loan to pay for that semester. But before I left there, I had scholarships that paid my tuition.
Awesome.
So
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Blessing.
Yeah.
And you don't get that story at too many 4-year institutions. But that's
Yeah.
what we talk about and what
That's
makes us so
HBCU.
proud. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better. With that, carry on with the story and tell us where you're from.
I'm from Baltimore, so right there in the land of Morgan State. And Morgan was. My parents used to go to the Morgan Grambling games in New York every year. We couldn't go, but they went and they had good time and everything. And I mean, Morgan was so very active in the community back when I was little. They would come to the high school, the band anyway, and play. And that band, their drum line used to pop lock way back when. And so it was real cool.
They don't know what pop lock. We got some youngsters on
break
here.
it.
They don't know what pop. You may have to elaborate what popping is.
And so then the guy up the street, his son played for Morgan, and on Saturdays he would come home and he after the games, and he had his equipment, he had his helmet in his hand, his shoulder pads, and all the kids, including myself, would run up and just want to touch the helmet. So, and a lot of the people in my neighborhood who were older, they all went to Morgan for undergrad. So it was kind of like that's something I want to do. I just didn't have, my head wasn't on right when I first came out of high school. I think I had like a 76.5 GPA and didn't do real well on the SAT, and I don't know where I was, mentally, but Morgan helped me, find myself.
Mm.
No doubt about it. I love that story in and of itself. With that, Charles, go ahead and follow up with a question.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask a little bit about photography because one of the things I'm very I noticed, at least on the sidelines, is you guys maneuvering all over the place, and I'm always curious as to when you get comfortable watching particular teams, do you know where the next great shot is coming from?
Well, if you're watching them that season, yes. You can kind of predict based upon, if you've been paying attention, what their tendencies are. And that's why I always say, and I say this about the pro teams too, if I can tell where the next play is going, so can the defense, because they've been studying you. They've got the film, and they know where you're going with that. And so it's no surprise where they are. And a lot of photographers like myself like to shoot behind the defense to catch their tremendous play in the end zone or whatever. And you can see we can almost call out the play. Like the safety's up short. So that if the tight end gets loose, he's gone. Or if they run a post out the slot, if the cover isn't there, he's burned. He's gone. He's got it. And that's happened so many times. And people say, well, how'd you get that shot? I say, because I called the play. I said, I saw it happening. I saw it. I said, they're going to come back to that play the next time they line up like that. And sure enough, and good coaches, Rob Broadway is one of them. Pete was another one. If you didn't check them on that play one time before, because most of them, they'll run 4 plays out of that same set. So if they're running 4 plays out that set, and you keep letting that guy skeet out in the middle, they're gonna come back to him because they're gonna catch you sleeping. So I just sit back and I'm like, okay. They let it go twice. Third time, they're gonna get them, and that usually happens. So to look for those tendencies, who's getting beat, if the left tackle is manhandling the D end and he's not getting any help on, so what's happening with the D tackles and those guards? If every time they go into 34, they run this play, we are actually doing all of that in our head. So if you've seen a team enough, you kind of get into their same cadence. It's like, okay, they're going in huddle, they no huddle, or they're going to their the big package. Here they come. They're gonna pound, and they're gonna hit you over the top. So yeah, I mean, the tendencies are there, and if you don't think they have tendencies,
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
are not in the coaching game.
They talk about the NFL. We don't go deep into the NFL over here, but that's one of the acronyms many people use. Not for long, so you
not for long.
And that can be used for college well. And you ain't gonna be that long if you can't figure
exactly.
it out. Somebody else
that applies to college and high school too.
Because other coaches will. So Mike, go ahead and follow up with a question if you will.
Yeah, photographers have their own style, or dare I say, signature. So if I look at a Jay Mack picture, what would you say is your signature, and how does that mesh with capturing the speed, the essence, and all of the pageantry of an HBCU game? So a little twofold, but what's your signature, and how do you mesh that with capturing the essence of the game?
My style has always been, and one of my friends in Baltimore, Lawrence Johnson, is a photographer who covers almost all of the MEAC games. He told me, he said, you shoot violently. Meaning the impact is what I'm targeting. I want to see that hit, that shoulder pad in the gut. That because there are a lot of things, people think football is so genteel, and it's far from that. I have photos where guys are getting their helmets spun almost all the way around in the midst of a tackle, or how you're fending off a 300-pound, 280-pound defensive end. I sent y'all a photo of Tavares Jackson, God rest his soul, and he's being grabbed in the chest by a defensive end from Alabama A&M, and he has the strength and the mindset to keep his eyes downfield and throw the ball. So a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give the fans that feeling that they were actually in the game. I want them to almost feel the shot. Like, ooh, that hurt. I know that hurt. It looked like it hurt. And then, of course, with the big play, I want to see, I'm a defensive guy, so I want to see the DB or the safety pick off the ball or knock the ball loose from the wide receiver. Doesn't always happen, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that maximum effort on both sides of the ball.
Brings up is because you're starting to actually talk in the way that you paint a picture that when I look at it, and we'll save some time near the interview where we'll plug some of your work that people can really get. I had a chance and thought enough to get out there and purchase it, and to be honest, I just kind of did it just on GP. And I met you, I thought you were a great quality guy, so I got it. But once I got my hand on it, my son loves obviously the band picture. So I probably have to get another book because he's kind of confiscated that one. So it's his. And I don't like to share with him. Don't tell the wife that because she thinks that's not good. But I got my own rules and some things I don't share. My stuff is my stuff.
Right.
So I have to get another one of those. And I got the book.
I still have the band one too.
Yeah. And so I got it.
Oh yeah, you got that. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll give you a chance to get that information out. But what I wanted to ask you in a way, and we'll have a chance to put this picture up in some part of the show before we finish the interview. But I wanted to talk about first your favorite college HBCU picture, classic or not, and you can do one of both. And I snuck it in the background there, but
okay,
we'll get one on the screen as well.
Okay, well, my favorite one, and one I sent you, was the Morgan Morris Brown game. Morgan State came down to play Morris Brown back in 2001, and it was the first time that I had an opportunity to shoot my alma mater as an official sports photographer. And Morris Brown had become almost like my home away from home, because they had the same kind of warmth on their campus that Morgan did. And Saul Brannon, who was an NFL player and one of Morris Brown's greats, was the head coach at the time. And Twiggy Sanders, who was the SID, who was also a Johnson C. Smith product, who played with the Harlem Globetrotters, was the SID. And they brought me in and they asked me if I would provide them photos, because I was one of the very few people who actually had a digital SLR. And at that time, you know, getting stuff up on the web was tough, because the school photographer was still shooting film. And Spurs was a great photographer, but he was shooting everything. And by the time you get it developed and back to the team, it was the end of the season. So I started shooting for Morris Brown, their athletic department, football and basketball, and a few other sports. And so when I got a chance to shoot both them and Morgan, it was really a moment for me, because it bridged the two of them, two of my favorite universities.
Man, I love the framework, how a picture in itself that may look heinous to us, obviously a great picture in regards to what's going on. He's actually doing a really nice form tackle. Morgan State, you have the MEAC insignia there, Morris Brown, numbers, the colors, all there. You got the background in some degree with the fan. But to hear the story of why this is your favorite, to me, really paints a great picture. With that, I want to turn it back over to Mike and let him follow up with a question.
Yeah, so I've seen, and if you don't mind, I'm going to change this up. I've seen your picture of Frank Robinson. And that's your favorite, most prized picture, correct?
That is.
I noticed the black and white tone. Is that preferential for you when taking, portrait shots of great athletes? And if so, why?
Black and white is timeless. It gives it the image to me that classic look. And in those days, color film was so washed out, and it never did African American skin tones well. It's still trouble, because the palette that they used was based on color palette for white people, so it never reproduced black skin tones well. But black and white, because the nature of our skin and its reflectivity, it's just something about a good black and white image. Of course, Frank Robinson was, what can I say? He did it all. Both leagues, both the American and National League. He didn't play long enough for the Orioles, I don't think. He's done everything with class. He was one of the reasons that I love baseball. I was a baseball guy. But I went to Morgan. I was hoping I could play baseball. And I started working out with some guys from the team, and I was ready. And then the next year they dropped the program. But because we won't get into the University of Maryland and how much they owe us. But suffice to say, we weren't getting the same.
I like the way you snuck that in there.
I like the way you got that in there. I like go and get that little jab in there. It's okay.
You can do that here. You at home. You can do that.
Because they do it at all our universities. Every university is the same thing. Right. I don't care where you are. So they underfunded us, and we weren't able to continue the baseball program. But what Frank was able to do in the league as both a player and as a manager will forever be a high mark for me. And so when I got a chance to shoot him as a manager, with the Washington Nationals here in Atlanta, I couldn't wait. And he was there, and there was another photo I have I didn't send, but it was of him and Don Buford. And most people know that Buford and Robinson played on that same Orioles team years ago. And Buford, whose son is a world-renowned surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, and he even invented a technique that is being used for the rotator cuff repair. So most people don't know it is a black man, the son of a Major League Baseball player, who perfected and innovated the technique for repairing rotator cuffs.
Wow, interesting. Wow. So one more follow. Do you use, when you're doing the black and white, do you use forgive me for my lack of knowledge of photography, do you use the SLR or single lens reflex camera? Okay.
Yeah, you can still use, there's some
Look
cameras
at
have a black and
Mike
white
trying to
mode.
sneak that in there.
Yeah.
Y'all, hey, little old 50-cent word. Don't be impressed, Charles.
Some cameras
Forgive
allow
me for my lack of knowledge.
some DSLRs have the ability for you to shoot in black and white. Others have a post-processing on it where you can go into the tool setting and do an in-camera change to black and white. That photo was turned black and white from using Photoshop.
Okay.
So I just when I saw it in color, I liked it, but when I turned it to black and white, it was another level. I actually have it on my wall back here, and I only put up pictures of you got I call it my Hall of Fame wall. So, you know, on my is on and that's a painting that a friend of mine who's an awesome painter. He did one, and I was able to purchase it. It's like a 30 by 40 painting. So that's one of my cherished pieces. But you know, that's what I do. You know, the photos that mean the most to me make the wall.
Awesome.
And too bad we got this COVID-19 because I sure would like to visit. And
Exactly.
I'm sure it's almost like a museum, and the stories that you could tell behind those pictures would really take us to another level. So I really appreciate that you shared a couple of your prized possessions with us in terms of your pictures and showed us the story. With that, if you would, we're going to bring you back. If you don't mind, stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, run a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and finish up this conversation.
Okay.
So this is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hold on for about 30-40 seconds, and we'll bring you back in. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop.
It's your boy, Rob Calloway, host of the HBCU Report, and right now, you're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my guy, all hail the dean of HBCU Sports. You know I named him that. Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, my guy. What's happening, man?
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are interviewing Jay Mack, better known as Jake McDonald, graduate of Morgan State University, as well as University of Virginia, but you know, he bragged on that Morgan State University, so we need to make sure that we put that love in there. We're going to get back to our conversation and interview here as we're just taking a deep dive, one, a little bit into photography, how he got started, where he's from, those kind of things in that nature. You really teased it up in a lot of ways where we could go about baseball, but if we get a chance, probably bring you back and really get a chance to focus on that, because I know you have a huge passion for baseball and can talk about baseball at the HBCU level, a little bit about the Little League, because I want to get your thoughts on the Chicago at some point, maybe for another interview, and then where we're going with baseball at the HBCU level and beyond. But with that, let's stick with the photography part, because we do want to get into some entrepreneurial stuff, because I know being a photographer in a lot of ways is about entrepreneurship. and your thoughts about entrepreneurship. Oh, I see you now. I see you. He just showed up. He started with the black and white. Now he's in color. See how he did that?
Yeah, I see that. I see that. You ain't slick, Jay Mack.
Yeah.
I caught my son walking by, so he brought my light back.
Yeah, I was gonna fast it up and say you got a production assistant working in the background. With that,
I wish, right?
I see Charles jumping to get into a question, so let him run.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask this question in terms of where do you see the next innovations in sports photography, especially over the past few years. Now we have drones that have entered the sporting stratosphere, if you will. So I'm just curious as to is there an angle that you haven't seen yet, or is there an innovation that is on the horizon that you might say, now this would be a great photo?
Well, I think it's more so what the technology is moving towards. Now we have the mirrorless lenses that are capable of shooting much faster than the single lens reflex cameras. In fact, without getting going down too much in that rabbit hole, the companies kind of halted the technology because it was so advanced that it was about to be video, because you technically can shoot with a mirrorless camera at 120 frames per second.
Wow.
So you would miss nothing. But that is video speed. So if I'm shooting 120 frames per second on the sideline, there's nothing I'm missing. But then you get into the conversation of, are you shooting video or are you shooting still?
Right.
So that's the only thing. Now, with that in mind, what has been in development, and it's actually been in use, and you've seen it, is the cameras used inside the pylon. And the NFL, because of the expense, has done this. They have cameras that are inside the pylon, and they can give you every angle of every play and reconstruct it.
Wow.
Without any people actually being on the field. So it's a kind of scary thing, because yeah, you can get it, but every photographer has a different way of shooting games. With that with that technology, you're going to get it the same way every time, and they're not going to get it. Yeah. Everybody does it a little differently. Shoot with a little different angle. You'll see photographers laying on the ground, and shooting from the stands, shooting from overhead. To me, you just got to feel it. It's a feeling when you're at a game that something is about to happen, where you need to be, and getting in position to do it, to execute. And you'll see us kick ourselves sometimes because we miss the shot.
That's fascinating. Because that was another question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Have you been in a position where there was one you just missed?
Oh yeah, we've all done it. We try not to make it a habit. But it happens. I can't lie. It happens to the best of us. Something distracted us, or we didn't have the right lens when we're running down there, and we just tried to make it happen, and it just didn't. That's why you see me with 3 cameras, so I don't have to change lenses as much.
Wow.
And see, with HBCU Sports, you also have that band and the dance team and a whole lot of stuff that's going on around. So it's not just what's on the field. I've shot, Georgia Techs and Georgias and all that. It's not as fun. When I'm seriously, I'm being pushed when I'm shooting HBCU, because so much is going on. It requires me to have a level of attention to detail that I'm not required to have in other games. I'm watching what the cheerleaders doing.
Wow.
I'm watching what the fraternities are doing on the sideline. I'm watching what they're doing in the stands. You got people cooking out over here. You got people, so you never know what's going on. So you really have to be looking out in the moment and watching from every, from, every perspective, every peripheral tool you have, you got to use it. Because you don't want to miss any shot. You want to, did you get that shot? Because Sunday, somebody saying, did you get that shot?
Get that shot.
I think I did. Oh, yeah, I got that shot. I got that shot,
You got the money shot. You got the money shot.
Yeah. Did you see what you say threw her way up in the air? And yeah, I got that. I hope I got it. But yeah, so there are people that pass through HBCU sports that you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss that last game of somebody. So you want to make sure that you document that. And that's what I call photographers visual grill. Because it's Dr. Gray. I have a photo of him. And who knew that was going to be his last game? And it's like, I never get a chance to shoot him again. Yeah. And that was my last time. Or all the greats, whether it's a player or a coach or a band member, dance team, doesn't matter. And people, again, they pass through. The entire event comes to Morehouse's homecoming. Yeah, she was all on the sideline. I like to think she was checking me out, but I'm not going to be that naive. But I do have video of her, in the background, photobombing my shot. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
He's sticking to it, exactly.
She was, let's just say she was drawn to the camera. How about that?
She was drawn to the camera. Yeah. No, but seriously, that's where I first met Lisa Ray. I met her on the sideline at the Magic City Classic. And it's not like I can call her up, hey, but every time we see her, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. So you get surprised at who you run into, and some people are fixtures. And hey, yeah, I remember you.
So that's really cool.
That is a great story, man. We can do this all day. The last question I have to kind of follow up on this segment in regards to that, as we've gone back and forth, and we'll have to get you back in because a lot of the people seem to be loving the dialogue that we're having. But I did want to give you a chance to talk about the entrepreneurial side of it, and just entrepreneurship in general, and why it's important to celebrate African American businesses, black businesses, if you would, in terms of the diasporic framework. Right. And how much of photography in itself is the entrepreneur sphere. And if you will talk about that and make sure that you put in there and capitalize it, because HBCU Classics in a lot of ways about entrepreneurship. What is your Fondest HBCU Classic shoot?
I wish I could
put you on the spot on that one.
I love them all. I'm gonna tell you.
Be honest. Really, come on, be honest.
I wish I could. I look. I've been to them all, but I truly enjoy going and just being a part of it. I mean, everyone was unique. I never had rabbit before until I went to the Southern Heritage. Of course, we get good food at the Bayou. I just wish that the Bayou celebrated us more and not let others direct how it's going down. Same thing with the Magic City Cube. We need to be in control of how it's marketed. Now it's big enough that it kind of runs itself, but we need to be receiving that, large check. I love the Florida Classic for all the reasons that it's warm in Florida in November. So I love them all. I really do. And I've had fun shooting every last one of them that I've gone to, including the Circle City Classic, because those people really turn out for it because they don't have it everywhere. We kind of take it for granted because we're in a city with the HBCU, but we're talking Indiana. And those people, they really do come out to celebrate the Circle City Classic, and they did so. And I think Alabama A&M had been in it a number of times, and Tuskegee a few times. And so they really enjoyed the game and the pomp and the circumstance and the pageantry associated with HBCU sports. And that's one of the reasons why I got into it. I mean, I always had an interest in photography. When I was in undergrad, I just didn't have any money. So I was shooting like a 110, and I had a 110. I borrowed my sister's 110 camera, and if you would know what about a 110, it's that little slim one that you still got to advance by sliding it this way and take a picture. Yeah. So I used that, and we had bum rushed the field, and we were sitting on the field taking photos of the game, and the pictures were horrible, but therein lies what happened to me. And so when I had a chance to begin shooting, I was shooting with a high school website, and as the kids got older, they started going to school. And some of the kids lived in my neighborhood, and they went to Fort Valley and Florida A&M and some of the others. In fact, I had one kid. He's one of the coaches in the area, and I had him at his senior night at Riverdale High School here, and then I also had him as a senior at Florida A&M playing in his last game. So in both of his last games, I have photos of him.
Awesome.
So for me, it's about documenting. But I started working with Tom Joyner's Black America Web, producing their HBCU Sports website, and I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and try to just highlight all the good things about HBCU sports. And I talked to so many people and had so many great interviews. And we were doing, I think I was writing 2 or 3 articles a week, plus video, plus game footage. And my goal, had we been able to get the contract right, was to bring in photographers from all over the HBCU universe and have every game covered, so that every Sunday you would be able to see coverage from every HBCU football game, video, stills, stories, in-game stories, and stories about, special stories about features, about people associated with HBCU sports. So that was my whole purpose for getting in the business, was to do that, was to bring awareness to the HBCU world. So I did that for 7 years, and then I just kind of started doing it on my own when they went in a different direction. And so I would do it through my own website, and been doing that ever since. And then I had the short idea. So about 5 years ago, I said I need to compile all this and begin putting it in a book, because that's the only way we're going to be able to look at this 50 years from now, because the internet will change, everything will change, but the books will be here. And
yes, indeed.
I tried to put as much of it in the book as I possibly could, so that it would still be affordable, because I have 20 years of footage. Same thing with some other friends, they have even more. And you try to compile 20 years of active photos into one book, it'll cost you $1,000. So yeah. I tried to limit, and I'm gonna bring it out. I have 2 or 3 more I'm working on, so that people who want to see the game footage, who want to see the things that are going on at the game, so they can see it and they can say, "Oh, Mama, that's me," because they used to be able to see that on Black America Web every Sunday and Monday. So by Monday morning it was live, but that's not there anymore, and it's only me, so so it's just kind of tough. So I'm glad that HBCU Game Day is around. I'm glad that some of these other outlets are around, because it helps build that love, that knowledge, and all of us are standing on the shoulders of people like the SID that was at Grambling that brought
Collie Nicholson.
Yeah, he marketed Grambling super well. The SID at Howard is probably responsible for former SID at Howard is probably responsible for, I don't know, a third of the SIDs in across the country. Same thing with the I'm trying to remember his name at South Carolina State. Same thing. These guys did a wonderful job, and they don't always get the national attention that they deserve, but they have done a phenomenal job, and it's the professionalism with which they do it can't be overlooked. So when I do a story, when I do anything regards to HBCU sports, I keep that in mind, that I want to deliver the best product possible. And I just ask that, give us the latitude to do it, because I want to make sure the story is right. I want to make sure that the story is engaging, because we have stories that have never been heard. And, we could talk about the Prairie View team that won how many in a row before losing a game? What did he go? 93-3 or 93-6? It was some phenomenal number that they had a streak run for years. Southern everyone has had their day in the sun. Morgan has had their day in the sun, and we're coming back. Mark my word. But we're all of our schools have had giants. I heard the story. In Bob Bullet Hayes. Most people don't know his story. How he wound up at Florida A&M when he was supposed to be going to Bethune-Cookman. I heard that at a track meet. One of the track officials told me the story. And
wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So we have stories that, because we are not looked upon, our universities haven't been looked upon as being valuable, they have only circulated amongst us. But when you start telling the story, people sit back and go, whoa.
Yeah.
I sat and talked. I did an article about the Giants of '66, and it wasn't about the New York Giants. It was about the Tennessee State Tigers. That class of '66, the number of athletes that they graduated from that time to, you name it, because they had a great team for a number of years. But that '66 class, oh my God! In the stories you heard about Big John there, and I got a chance to sit with all of them. Almost the entire class was there in the room, and I sat in like a bullpen, and they just told me story after story after story. And they talked about, I asked them a question about, does it matter where you go to school? And Claude Humphrey, who went in the Hall of Fame for the Falcons, told me, if you can play, you can play. I know guys that went to USC that couldn't play a tackle. That's, so, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed about that. So if you can play, you can, no matter where you are, they'll find you. But being able to sit in that room with all of those great players and hear their stories and how they love their head coach, man, you can't put a price on that.
You can't. We're gonna have to bring you back. This is one story, and then we're gonna have to do a part where we might have to find a way to see about getting your own show. To some degree, the first time where we have a photographic type of show where you can immerse yourself in the conversations in some ways. So I'll work around with some people that may even look like that, and we'll talk off the record with that. The other thing I want to do is I'd be remiss if I just came on a segment yesterday and talking about that 68 team with Jackson State University and the numbers that they had go to a professional, and they were locking horns with Tennessee State at the time. Not to mention Prairie View, what was going down with some of those teams coming out of Southern, Grambling, FAMU. Now that you bring all that, but it was really across the board in the SWAC so much. But you're right. You look at that era, and I call it the golden era. And I have it in the book here where I've talked about the number of championships. And amazing, a lot of it was more in basketball than it was even in football in regards to actually playing for national and winning national championships because you had more opportunity to do it in basketball than done in football. But as we come to a close, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell people, go out there and support black businesses, support entrepreneurs. These are things that you talk about. I'll put it in the link. I just wanted to tease you with a little bit and show you that I do my part and I got it and I'm happy with it. It is the HBCU Classic Life. This is the book that J Mack, as we call it, Jake McDonald is referring to, Jason McDonald, a photo retrospective of historical black college and university and football classes, 2002, 2014. We're going to partner up on some stuff. I have some books out there. I wish I would have thought about it earlier. We didn't quite know each other like that. I could have made sure that
freeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's frozen.
Okay.
We'll get him back up in a second.
Yeah, we'll get him back up.
I mean, I have to say that was a fun interview, really fun interview in terms of everything that you provided in terms of the entrepreneurship aspect, the photography aspect, just a fun story. And like Dr. Cavil said, we got to bring you back on and really get into some more of those stories because the wheel started spinning for me because I wanted to talk about the 1962 Orange Blossom Classic, Jackson State, and Florida A&M, so, and all the pros that came from that game. So, man, looking forward to bringing you back on at some point in time.
Yeah, I like when as I hear you speak, the passion that your pictures, which don't have any words, but they convey a story, and I like the fact that they convey a story that we all need to hear. And I'm sitting here in awe. So I definitely agree with CB. We need to bring you back on because I think there's some younger folks that attend HBCUs that need to hear this and see that.
No doubt about it.
And I'd be willing, I'm approachable. You can come on and talk to me on the sideline during breaks, and I'll help you understand what it is that you need to do in order to shoot well. Most of us are out here, and you don't see a lot of the younger people following our footsteps, and so we still need those people to document what's going on, and it can't all be video.
Absolutely.
Video's nice, but you can't print.
Sure.
And they say, well, you can do a screen capture, and yeah, well, you can, but. So,
it's really fascinating to talk about that photograph and photography in terms of a historical lens. With that, we're going to get ready for this quick commercial break. We're going to let you go. Thank you for coming on as we talk about Jason McDonald, Morgan State University, entrepreneur, photographer, many other trades to the link of what he gets done. But wanted to make sure that you understand that Morgan State, there you go. He always representing. I love it.
I see you.
As we get it done, let me take you to a commercial break.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate it.
And we'll be back in with Rob to talk about some next part of the schedule. That's Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about.
What up, world? It's your boy, Rob Calloway, host of the HBCU Report. And right now, you're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my guy. All hail the dean of HBCU Sports. You know I named him, man. Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, my guy. What's happening, man?
That's right. We got Rob Calloway, HBCU Sports Report, as he will give it to you Saturday live. But we get to still him for about a good 15 minutes. on our show on Tuesday. So we appreciate him showing up in the house as he does. Let me just get in here and ask you, what's going on, Rob? You're on mute.
Dr. Cavil, my
what's
guy.
Going on?
There
Rob,
we go.
There you go. He's so cool. He don't even put the mute on. It's
Yeah, I thought it was off. But yeah, what's up, Mike, Charles, Doc?
Rob.
My boys.
Rob.
All
We got a spring schedule, Rob.
We have a spring schedule. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I'm like, oh my God, we got a Magic City Classic in April. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can y'all bring out the sundresses and the Daisy Dukes one time for the Magic City Classic? And the crazy part about it is that they have the Bayou and the Magic City Classic the same week. There's
Jackson
no way
State
I'm
all
gonna be
for
able
it too.
there's no way I'm going to be able to do all three. Jesus Christ. Jesus, look, that's what I'm saying, man. Look, the SWAC is the Mac Daddy of HBCU sports, man. Like, where else can you get all three of those games in 1 week? Like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
No other conference, the MEAC, the SIAC, the CIAA, nobody else can do it this big for obvious reasons. But my God, yes we do. And you know what? I was just having a conversation with my homeboy that went to A&M, Alabama A&M, and we were talking about it. Yeah, this is gonna be crazy, for everybody, and for me, I hope that COVID is gone away. Because if COVID ain't going away, I ain't going to Alabama, I ain't going to Louisiana, I ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Even with masks on, right? But the thing about it is, it was just good to see the schedule rolled out,
Yeah.
because we know we got the SEC, they rolled their schedule out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just like, y'all know this is not happening in the fall. Y'all stop playing with these folks. But yeah, it's good. I mean, because at least it gives us a glimpse of hope. A glimpse that maybe the whole COVID factor, won't be in play. When the new year rolls around, 2021, and so. That's what we're really hoping for, man. But everybody, like I said, everybody else, I don't really know, man. Like, when these FBS schools start talking spring sports, I don't know. I was telling Charles, because Charles joined me on the show Saturday. I was saying that I just don't know, man. If you have these guys that are truly studs and guys that the NFL are truly looking at, I mean, do you really risk that and say, I'm going to play some spring football in January or February? Do you really do that? I mean, I brought up Sunshine last week, Trevor Lawrence. Like, if I don't really see Trevor Lawrence playing spring football, man. Not when he's not when he's like the number one quarterback that everybody's looking at, and they talking about the Patriots could possibly tank out whatever season they have for Trevor Lawrence. So I don't see that dude, suiting up and playing spring football. And I don't even know how you get a whole lot of butts in the seats if your superstars aren't there. Because a lot of these stars, they're going to be preparing for the combine, and then we know that hopefully 2021 sees the first HBCU NFL combine actually take place. And so I'm not really sure what we're going to be looking at this spring, fellas. I mean, it's good. It made everybody feel good to see the schedule roll out. I got my schedule in my email from Bama State with Coach Hill and Ely on the side of the schedule. I'm like, oh, look at Coach. Oh, yeah, it's the season. But I don't really know if we're going to be doing that. So, I don't know if I need to get hype or if I just need to just sit back and observe.
Yeah. If we can just get to week one, if we can get, the first matchup that jumps out at me, Alabama A&M and Alcorn State. Alcorn goes to Alabama A&M. You got Felix Harper versus Aquill Glass. Aquill Glass, he's thrown for 6,000 yards over the past couple seasons, 56 touchdowns, 60% completion ratio. He's a legit NFL, prospect. Nice matchup to start off this spring football season.
Oh, absolutely. Aquill Glass is money. That boy.
And as you said, you talking about coming out the gate with it.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, that reminds me when you look at Prairie View. Prairie View first 2 games, Grambling and Texas Southern.
Yeah. Grambling and Texas.
And PB has 9 defensive starters coming back, 4 all SWAC defensive players coming back. So this is when they got to get it done.
And the point about you is usually defenses come up faster than offenses, so you want to take advantage of it early as maybe your offense come around, and they are going to be looking at who's going to be the quarterback. Obviously, they have a transfer that comes in that a lot of people are happy about, but just the ability to talk about this. Yeah, we know, as you said, Rob, there's some question marks about this happening, but in terms of us being in the field of sports, we get to talk about this a little bit. Back to some
That's
sports.
all they keep doing. Look, they just keep spoon feeding us so we'll have something to talk about.
They're giving y'all some hope. They giving y'all hope.
But I like about the point you made in regards to the FBS level and the Power 5, which is some of the reason you can understand why they're pushing so hard to get this in, because they know that you're not going to have a spring football season with stars.
Right.
You may decide to do it, but as you said, Callaway, it's not going to be with stars. You can throw that out the window. Right. There's no question about it. And that's why some of them are pushing so hard to play, even though we know it's crazy, and that's why you don't let young folks make decisions, obviously. But when you look at the whole thing, you can understand, because they know it's now or nothing.
But you know, but you know, at the end of the day, this goes back to the conversation that y'all had last week with Christopher McGregor, and the conversation that me and Charles had Saturday morning, is that, you know, it might not necessarily be about the football, right? But just to be able to have some of the HBCU experience, the culture, the vendors, and all of that great stuff that goes along with these classics and a lot of these football games, if people could just get a touch of that, you know, I think that right there might give everybody their fix until we circle back around to Labor Day of 2021.
So here's the question. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but do you have this season? You have summer workouts, and then you turn right around and have another fall season. What do you do to those sophomores and juniors, those that are not preparing for the league? You gotta answer those questions as well.
Yeah, you do. And so that's what I'm saying. If the spring thing might work, but we have spring football anyway. It's just not televised.
Yeah, but it's not 10 games. It's a spring game and some practices.
Right.
Well, you know, the question I asked was, do you burn a person's eligibility playing this spring football? So where they're using 2 seasons of eligibility in 1 calendar year. So that was some of the things that I was curious about.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where you get into the coaching and what makes this all fascinating, because all those questions on the table. And as far as I'm concerned, I get to talk about it. We get to talk about it and put all these important questions on. But a lot of people get paid good money to figure this out.
Figure it out.
Right.
So you can pay me as a consultant, and I will tell you my recommendation for a fee.
Well, we know that, Dr. Cavil. We know.
and we know what your damn fees are.
I don't know what the fee is, but I know it is a fee associated.
It is a fee, man.
Y'all ain't right. I was just saying, though. But to your point, and there's a question about, you know, they're playing spring ball, not playing 10-game schedule, but they playing a 6-game schedule or a 7-game schedule. You know, what does that mean? How do you deal with it? Do you let players choose whether they want to play or not? So they have those options. And so the other question becomes, the reason that you also are trying to play it is the financing in regards to being able to hold everybody over if you want them to come back another year. Because you still got a recruiting class that got to come in, so you got to cycle in. So it's not like you flush with money. So if you have a chance to allow at least some of them that will probably likely play and not burn a red shirt, so you cover that cost, that is a liquidation type of framework in regards to the benefit as well, in terms of just the amount of costs associated with redshirting and bringing everybody back. Because you got to remember, right now, because of the way it looks, you're paying for everybody's school this fall regardless. That's on the books.
Agreed.
That didn't come off the book. You paying for scholarships this year. And as I tell my students, and they don't necessarily look at it, this is why, especially on the power side, I'm so adamant that these college athletes, as I like to say, gets paid. If they can get money off their name, image, and likeness, I say they do that at every level. I know at our level, there's no true revenue source to pay athletes, or I'd say pay them too. In this case, they need to thank the students for supporting them to make sure they get their school paid for. So, you know, I have that information. I'm not going to make it ridiculous in regards to that. But the point I'm bringing out is that we tend to get glossed over one or two things, but we got to take the big picture and everything. With that, we're about to close because Roy has another appointment he needs to get to. But no, we're fine. So we'll tag on a little bit because we got Roy, and we don't let him get out of here. We got Rob.
Was that the Phi Beta Sigma no, or just Roy no, or the FAMU no?
Right, that was a MEAC no. That's too much SWAC.
That's a MEAC.
There's too much SWAC talk.
I'm looking at Roy.
Now, with my next question, I want to bring that in. It was strategic that there are some open dates in there.
Yes.
And there was the point that you could play a non-conference game. The question becomes at play, if the MEAC does not play a spring game, how much and who gets the first picture of lining up a game with FAMU and or Bethune-Cookman for the spring part of the football to kind of kick things off early? What are your thoughts? Which matchup, if you had your choice, you were the czar, you were the SWAC commissioner, and FAMU and Bethune-Cookman AD was asking for your assistance, who do you lean towards in terms of which FAMU and a SWAC team do you want to see? Bethune-Cookman and one team do you want to see? I'm going to start with Mike, and we're going to go around the horn. I'm going to go with Mike, and one of each. Who do you want to see FAMU face? If FAMU and Southern. Bethune-Cookman and who?
Bethune-Cookman, and I'm going to go and say it'll be interesting to see him play like a Jackson State.
Okay. Rob Calloway. FAMU and?
Grambling. I got to go with the two biggest brands of HBCU sports is Grambling and FAMU. You got to go Grambling FAMU.
I love it. Bethune-Cookman and who?
I go with Jackson State. I can go with that. I could definitely go with that. That's a great matchup.
That's a great matchup to me.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I'm going to do them like on Round the Horn, Roy. You're going to have to give me. I'm going to put them on mute when they keep talking over my 2 minutes. So, Round the Horn, what you got?
FAMU Jackson State, the FCS leader in attendance. That's the biggest game that I want to see.
And it goes back historically.
It goes back historically.
You talk about the semifinal matchup in that 1970 championship, and just the last couple of years.
As opposed to resurrecting that classic with Southern.
Hey, it's around the
There's a
horn.
lot of interest. I'm sorry.
Everybody has their opinion. He turned this into a debate. This is not a debate.
I just asked a question.
If I want a spectacle, if I want two huge fan bases, FAMU Jackson State.
Woo.
Yeah.
Bethune-Cookman and
I would go. I would love to see Bethune-Cookman and Southern.
You see, I switched that up on. me. I like that. I like it.
That's pretty good. Last question I have you. Again, we'll go around the circle real quick because we're looking at it. We might design another show, so we kind of been thinking about this. So we kind of testing it out. So our viewers get a first-time glimpse on some of the production stuff that Roy Evans does in the background. So we're sneaking some previews, and we're testing stuff on the show because you'll see us looking at this fall potentially debuting a couple of new type of format shows. So we'll get a different name for it, but just to give something that people recognize, we'll talk about that. So let's go one more time around the ticker. This time we'll start with Charles. In fall 2021, what is your biggest matchup? And I think I might have this off the chart because it's already on paper. In terms of way too early, what is the most critical matchup with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman coming into the conference? And specifically the Eastern Division, And for this discussion, if you allow me, we're taking Alcorn and we'll put them in the West. We know that hasn't been decided, but
They need to.
I'm the czar right now, so I can do that. So we're putting them in the West.
Oh, well, we know that's what's happening.
Oh, is that what happened?
If Cavil say that's
You
what's
done became
happening.
the czar.
Hey, I'm the dean. As the dean, this is my lecture class. I'm doing the discussion here, people. You are my colleagues, obviously, and professors, but this is my class right now. I just brought y'all in to talk to my students, and y'all let me run my class. Academic freedom, dude. Academic freedom. But y'all, in the West Division, what is your biggest matchup in the fall that you say that people need to keep that on right away?
In the Western Division in the fall,
I'm sorry, Eastern Division. I want to go Eastern Division.
Yeah.
And we're bringing FAMU and Bethune-Cookman in, right?
Yeah, 2021. It's a done deal.
2021, I think that initial Orange Blossom Classic or rematch, if you will, with FAMU and Jackson State. And then if we look at the West, I honestly believe Prairie View and Southern is going to be those two teams that'll fight it out in the West.
Going back to Rob Calloway, starting with the West this time. What's going to be the perennial game that everybody must watch that's going to really kick it off and tell people who's for real and who's not in 2021?
Man, you know, when it comes to the West, if they move Alcorn to the West, and Alcorn deserves to go to the West because they need to go somewhere and actually compete because the East clearly has been too much for them. Been too easy for them, rather should I say?
Over the past 7 years.
Yeah, they've been just doing it. And so that kind of, you know, when you talk about the West, man, that kind of just muddies things up, you know. But I'll say that the matchup that I will be looking most forward to in the West, because we know that the West has basically been whoever wins the Bayou, and then I gotta say the Alcorn because they've been dominating the East. So I'm gonna go Grambling and Alcorn.
Nice.
Grambling and Alcorn, and in the East, man, in the East, this is where I go. This is where I started talking Jackson State, and I never taught Z. I never taught anybody that you put two E's on the end of D. I never talk about it. But because I understand that Jackson State has been building, and I know a lot of schools in the East, Bama State, A&M, they've been building. Cornell Maynard and Coach here at Ely, they've been building both of those programs respectively at Bama State and A&M. But this is where I say that the FAMU Jackson State thing plays a big component in the East. I'm not sure what Jackson State will roll out in 2021, but I know that FAMU is coming equipped. So I'll go ahead and start. I'll go ahead and go with that one. Jackson State and FAMU being the key matchup 2021 in the East.
Man, y'all got to work on y'all too.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I made it easy, and I'll stay in 30 seconds. In the East, Jackson State, FAMU, I agree.
Yeah.
In the West, Alcorn State and Grambling. You got to look at who. If Alcorn State goes to the West, you got to look at Alcorn State and Grambling.
Yeah.
Charles, I see you want to jump back in here. Give me something.
See, these are the questions that I have, especially with regards to the spring, because if I don't play spring ball, or why would I use Aquil Glass in the spring if I can bring him back in the fall?
Why would I risk injury in the spring? That's my question. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, those are the questions that are kind of rolling. Alcorn, they're losing 4 offensive linemen here going into this upcoming season. Southern has 5 new assistants, 4 of them on the offensive side of the ball. There are so many questions going into this calendar year sort of deal that it kind of throws how you kind of look at fall 21.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Their coaches are going to have to make some tough decisions. Yeah. Do I play this 7 games? try to get this championship that a lot of people are going to put an asterisk on, rightfully or wrongfully, or do I say, let me do something? You know, how does this work in terms of contract extensions? You know, how may that play in for some people in regards to how serious it is, in regards to how much they take it versus, you said, others may say, I'd rather do it in the fall so I can make a run at a Celebration Bowl. People are jumping on this. Mississippi Valley State to the west, somebody said. BC Alcorn, FAMU Southern. They talking about non-conference game. Jackson State Southern, FAMU Southern, FAMU.
We not even talking about Valley, right?
Valley.
We talking about
Valley.
Right.
Y'all be careful with the devil's gun. Be careful with the devil's gun.
Y'all say it every year. Come on, y'all say it every year.
Valley could be in the North Division.
Every year we talk about, be careful about them Deltas. Be careful about Itabena.
No, man.
All I'm saying is, Vince ain't gonna get whooped forever. I'm just saying, right?
We've been saying that for 20 years, though.
But that's just like Arkansas Pine Bluff had their 1 year. They had their 1 year, so I mean, anything is possible, right?
Yeah, they won one for 19.
And don't sleep on Pine Bluff this upcoming year.
Y'all say that every year.
Every year.
Valley?
Right.
We talking about Valley? We talking about Valley?
Lonnie Shaw got his little punch in here, and I'm surprised by this one as much as they go back and forth with FAMU. He said FAMU will rule the East except for when they play Bethune-Cookman.
What?
Alcorn can load up their football team with talent. The recruit heavily out of Florida, they can go up anywhere. I think, like you said, I really like the idea with Alcorn coming over to the West. As much as I'm a Prairie View fan, obviously I support Texas Southern University, but I think with them go over the West, the key matchup game until proven otherwise is Alcorn and Southern. In the West, just because they kick it off, and with Alcorn in this analysis moving over to the West, I think, as you said, it's almost a no-brainer that Jackson State FAMU game that happens to kick everything off certainly is going to give somebody a huge leg up in that East Division. So in a lot of ways, it becomes that first game like Texas Southern and Prairie View in terms of who gets that leg up. And ultimately will go a long way in terms of who's going to represent that Eastern Division. And so I would call that the key matchup. But I think what you all put on the table was certainly great analysis in what we're doing. In terms of that, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here, Rob, to tell us what to expect this Saturday on your show. Great show last week when you brought it up. I thought the analysis you did on Dr. Crystal McGregor, which goes back to what we did with our interview with Jay Mack. And really what he was talking about is what she was talking about, the HBCU black expression, you know, and what does it mean in terms of the context of HBCU football, as I call it, the HBCU sports culture, the HBCU athletic aesthetic, the sporting HBCU diaspora. But when you talk about that HBCU black expression, I think it's cool when we find different ways to describe it. But Rob, what can we expect Saturday?
Well, hopefully, my guest is already on the screen. Hopefully, Mike Washington will be joining us this weekend since we already had Charles Bishop last Saturday. So, you know, Mike, is that an agreement?
That is a confirmed agreement. Yes, sir.
All right, so I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow. So, you know, we'll just, you know,
he gonna try to pin me down on air, man.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. No, because see, then Saturday when you a no-show, then I can clown you up like, man, that fool told me on his show that he was gonna be available.
He gonna pin me down. With
I got you on video.
With a couple of thousand people listening, you know, I'm gonna be down.
Hey, no, this how my lady does me. She turned the video camera on her iPhone and then make me say whatever I'm gonna do. So this is how we do it. But no. So now that we actually have the schedule, I'm not sure what coaching wise who I would be talking to, but I know I'll definitely be talking to one of the SWAC coaches. Got a couple requests in. To talk about this season and what they expect and how all of this is going to play out. Like, if you're going to play in the spring, when is spring practice going to start? Like, these are all the things that we need to be thinking about. Like, when is it going to start? Like, is it going to start like while they on Thanksgiving break or while they on Christmas break? Like, because we know that most semesters are ending the week before Thanksgiving. So how is all of that stuff gonna work? Because it's a lot that goes into it. Like, we hear them say we got a schedule, and we like, oh, good. But when are y'all gonna start putting all the nuances together? Like, when is all this stuff gonna start happening? Are bands gonna be included? Are the cheerleaders gonna be included? Like, it's a lot that goes into it. And so, thankfully, I'm gonna just say this. Thankfully, everybody on these airwaves right now are SWAC guys except for Roy. I'm sorry, Roy, but technically, in the fall, you will be a SWAC guy too, Roy. But, so right
optimum word in the fall.
In the fall, right? So with the SWAC actually giving us something that we can lean on, big shouts out to them. I've been giving the commissioner all these kudos since he was selected to be in that position, and he just keeps on moving us forward. So the one thing that sports fans never want, sports fans don't want to have to just sit around and guess, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing that the SWAC has offered us is that they've offered us a schedule, right? Now, what's going to happen with that, we don't know. But the one thing that the MEAC, the SIAC, and the CIAA have not done is rolled out schedules and say, this is what's happening in the spring of 2021. So, we'll definitely talk about the SWAC and how they're actually moving forward. And then we'll get old Mike Washington on to talk about.
Why you gotta say old in time?
Well, I didn't mean old in age. I didn't mean old in age. But to talk about his HBCU experience. I see he got those Prairie View Panthers back there in the background. All that good stuff. And actually, one of my college band directors is a director over there at Prairie View. So I got some ties over there to Prairie View. I like what they've been doing over the last few years. They've been doing some good stuff. So, we'll do that. We'll see what Mike got to talk about.
That'll do it for us. I did want to say, check out Brian and AD. Check them out on their sports rap show every Tuesday at noon as they kick it off and give you updates in terms of HBCU sports with a breadth of coverage of HBCU sports. None other. Obviously, check out Rob Calloway every Saturday morning, 8 o'clock Central Time. That's 9 o'clock there Eastern Time. The HBCU Report, check him out every Saturday. Also want to extend some love. Boxer Row, they celebrating the 15th year anniversary this Thursday. Have a
15 years? So,
wow. Congratulations, Donald.
Give Donald Ware some love for that. Want to shout him out. Check him out. He's doing great work. Anybody knows anything about me knows that I shout them all out. I mean, we out here trying to put in work. Obviously, we talked a little bit about HBCU game day. Steve Gaither to get it done. Tolly over there, what he gets done with HBCU game day. Willie Pip over there. A lot of good work going around the horn.
See, what y'all don't know is totally, man, his wife is one of the best. I'm talking about one of the best news reporters we got in Atlanta, man.
Yeah. Go right.
Man, she is phenomenal.
And as y'all may or may not have saw, is that he actually shoots it right now in his studio.
At the crib. Yeah.
At the crib. So he's shooting that high professional. She has one of the nicest sets going around literally the country because she happens to be married to somebody that knows how to do the production behind the scenes. And they did it up in the right way. And now he produces a show through that studio. So kudos. Giving us something all to aspire to, because we talk about Roy back there. He's doing a lot of that work now, too, as he's getting a production studio and home to get it done. So kudos to a lot of the work that's going on out there. That'll do it for us. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Share and like the show. All that counts. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out BCSN in terms of download the app. Download the app. Again, BCSN, download the app. All those things are important. Those counts. As we are going to make a major push, and we're going to look to do something exciting. We're talking about collaborating in such a way that you never have seen before, where you could probably get all your HBCU love in one destination with everybody doing their own type of production, their own quality show, the styles that you love across the board. Look out for what we have on store doing for you. So give us your support. We'll need it. Some of it will be financial. Not only do we need you to check these out, get it done, but we're going to ask for some financial support to get this done.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's like alumni dudes right there. Good luck with that.
That's why you need to listen to Rob Calloway, because he will keep it real. That's for last thing I want to do this. Charles, any last words that you want to shout out quickly?
Shout out to 1400 Club, the Tiger Talk podcast, the podcast that I do with Jackson State University. To the guys who we've been knocking out interviews left and right, so we're up around 57, 58 episodes.
Wow! Congratulations.
And I did a show yesterday with your previous SID. They did a lot of history. I need to send it to you. You'd love it, and going to connect you with that. He did some of that history that you talked about, that you love. Fascinating.
Love it.
We'll do that. So keep it up. Great work with 1400 Club, which is a good challenge for Mike, because they're supposed to be putting something together for 1876. So what's up, Mike? You can get it done. Any last words that you want to give?
No, since you stole my thunder, but look out for 1876 coming your way. And, also love to the Prairie View Nation. We didn't get to it, but they just signed, Cam Mack, who was a Nebraska transfer. So, there's a lot of vibe in the Prairie View chat line. So, a lot of good stuff happening in Prairie View. So
we're going to have to get into that. We may have an interview coming up. We'll see if we can possibly get somebody in to talk about basketball. And what does that look like moving forward with all this talk and cancellation of the fall for a lot of sports? The question starts to come up with basketball. So we're going to do that and see if we can bring some information to give you an update on that. G-Boom Holly just gave me an update. I'm glad he put this out there before I go to you, Rob, for the last word. HBCU Sports Lab 1. Check us out on Twitter. HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. And Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Make sure you check those and follow those and give us some love. With that, before I close, Rob, what can they expect from you? Any last word that you want to give?
The benediction. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. No, seriously. Look, man, I'm going to just say this. That despite, and this is for everybody that's tuned in and everybody that's going to listen to the podcast and check out the replay or whatnot, that, I know right now seems like some of the craziest times ever. We're talking about no fall sports, which means no homecoming for most schools, unless you like a basketball school like Payne College that do it, during basketball season. But here's the one thing that I can say, and I can stand on this, is that I know that between the platforms that we have, whether it be Stephen Gaither and HBCU Game Day, whether it be Ken Rashad and HBCU Sports, or whether it be inside the HBCU Sports Lab or the HBCU Report or Box the Road, the one thing that I can tell everybody in this listening audience is that we will continue to do our best. This is what I'm even asking everybody. I can just tell you that we will continue to do our best to give you the most up-to-date coverage in HBCU sports. It might be the way that Dr. Cavil and the guys do it, or the way that Stephen does it, or the way that I do it. But the one thing I can tell you is that your fall will not go empty. Like, your plate will still run us over in the fall. We just, as broadcasters, we just have to find a different way to be able to bring you all everything that happens within HBCUs, and not just the sports, but within the academics and everything else. So, that's about it for me, Doc. But I just wanted to make sure that I give everybody that guarantee, because I know that between me and you and you guys, I know we'll, be doing our best to give everybody what they need.
No doubt about it. That was a great benediction. So I appreciate you covering that and well
now,
said.
Where the collection plate? Pass the plate.
Nicely done.
Alumni dues.
Alumni dues. Right.
Take your little love offering and go.
Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, as we bring our guest with Rob Calloway. Again, check him out this Saturday as he brings it the only way that he can. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends on college Colleagues, please check us out on Twitter, HBCU Sports Lab 1. Check us out on YouTube, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Download the BCSN app. As we said, we look forward to next week as we will discuss the latest, greatest in the lab.
What up, world? It's your boy,
As we
Rob
talk about
Calloway, host of the
Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I forgot everybody to talk about. Course, lecture,
Dismissed.
Hey.
All right, come on. Come on, man. You had one job.
We try to hang around here forever.
I love my
You had one
HBCU.
job.
And boy,
I was